Hey guys, it's Michael from Hollowed Thrills, back with another video, and we already talked about what I think is most likely coming to HHN this year as far as houses, but how about what I'd like to see in general? Today I'll be counting down my top 10 things I'd personally really like to see at HHN 31. Now before we start the list, as always, make sure that you are subscribed and have that bell notification turned on to get notified whenever I post a video. And if you have already not done so, go and give my Instagram and my Twitter a follow, as the links for both of them are down in the description. Now, before we dive into number 10, I just want to say these are 100% opinion based with no rumors or facts to back them up. These are all going to be things as a fan of the event I would really like to see this year. Alright, so with that out of the way, starting off with number 10. I would really like to see the return of the Chainsaw Brigade in the Simpsons area. Last year, that area seemed so dead and sad during the event, and just overall felt empty without them there. So without a doubt, they need to come back this year, or at least need to theme that area a bit in just some sort of way. Number 9, I want some more props in the scare zones. More prop heavy scare zones. Last year, New York was littered with props for Seek and Destroy, which really helped fill a lot of empty space and help with the overall theming of the zone, which I think for all zones, they need that level of theming and the amount of props. It would really help the zones in general, help convey their story a little bit better. Number 8. Involving the app more at the event. The return of an in-app game last year really gave you more options of things to do during busier nights if the waits were super high. Now, I think one thing I'd like to add to that experience is a reward of some sort, making it like a bit more worthwhile for you to do the games. I think that if they were to include a prize of like one free One House Express Pass for completing that event night story in the game, that would actually make people more inclined to check out the game, because I know a lot of people who didn't even know that the game existed last year. Moving on to number 7. This may not be the most agreed upon thing, but I'd really like to see more niche IPs at this year's event. Something that's like a horror staple, but like also a super deep cut. Like how Killer Clowns was. That movie is a horror staple, but it had a very niche audience of people who had seen the movie prior to the event, to it being announced at the event. On to number 6. This one I am sure a lot of people can agree on, but I enjoy the theming of the last 2 years of the Central Park scare zones, but I think it's time the pumpkins return to their rightful place in those trees. It just has not felt the same in that zone without them there. I'm sure creative can think of some sort of idea to bring them back in some way, making another original zone in there, bringing back something, just some way to get the pumpkins back in the trees, because it just does not feel normal without them there. Number 5, we're halfway there, and this one I am really passionate about. We need more Blinky Cup designs. Last year was a massive letdown after the amazing run of Blinky Cups at HHN 29, where there was a new design every other week. But at HHN 30, there were only 2 designs for the entirety of the event. Even during the last week or so of the event, there were even reports of Universal handing out cups with the Blinky Cup design on them, but the cup didn't actually light up. Like, talk about budget cuts. So I really think we need to go back to square one and do better at this year's event on the Blinky Cup front. I'm sure Theme Park Bar can totally back me up on that one. On to number 4, adding more creative scares or more creative construction to the houses. I've begun to notice a little bit of a pattern as far as HHN houses go, of just repeating the same pop-out scare with a trigger being played every single time. Every so often, they do get a new scare that does get added, but does seem to get removed at some point during the event's run. An example being the Headless Horseman on the bridge at Wicked Growth. A lot of you may not even know that that existed, and it did. And within like the first 2 weeks of the event, they just got rid of that whole effect entirely. I just think that they need to do something big this year that hasn't been done before in an HHN house, or something we haven't seen in a while. like maybe a Choose Your Path house. I would really like to see them bring that kind of concept back. Number 3, more merch for originals and smaller IPs. We barely had any merch for the original houses last year, which was arguably one of the best original lineups of the past couple years. The only things I remember was the house shirt and the candles that were themed to the originals. That's about it. It is kind of lackluster when you have some iconic characters in those houses like the Pumpkin Lord and the many amazing characters within Puppet Theater. But I also think we need more merch for the less popular IPs at the event. My example being, last year there was only one piece of merch for Crypt TV, and that was the Scare Zone Mashups shirt/poster. And I would have loved a Look-See shirt or just a Crypt TV compilation shirt in general. I think they really dropped the ball on that. Now, our last 2 spots, I will start with number 2. I want a tasting lanyard. I want a tasting lanyard. It is simple as that. They upped the game last year with the expanded food offerings. Now give me a way to save a little bit of money and try as much stuff as I possibly can. The tasting lanyard for Mardi Gras last year was a game changer. And now it is sad that it won't be returning this year, but I do hope they keep that idea alive because it is definitely a top 2 want for this year's event. And finally, my number 1 most wanted thing at HHN this year is a new icon for the year who will host the entire event. It has been since 2016 since we've had a quote-unquote new icon, but the last original icon who was introduced for the first time at the event was back at HHN 21 with Lady Luck. I know we've been in the IP years for quite some time now, but I think we're due for someone new to lead the event. But that wraps up my list for the top 10 things I would like to see at HHN 31. If you enjoyed, please make sure you drop a like and also comment some of your musts for HHN this year. I'd like to hear them. But as always, I've been Michael, this has been Hall of Thrills, and I'll see you guys next time.